Last week I had a real surprise. One of my favorite genres within the field of horror has always been the slasher, not only because of the sense of survival, but also because of the social approach it had. It's amazing to find films that talk about different topics, without showing in the foreground or in an obvious way pictures that support the meaning of the creator. However, and although this seems a fairly obvious message, in recent years and thanks to the monopolization that the film industry has had to reach the maximum possible audience, the film has become more immediate in terms of its analysis. One would think that in a genre as exploitable as horror, there will no longer be risky proposals in one of its most popular franchises. Such is the case of the recently released Halloween Ends. And it's not that it's the ultimate work of horror either, it's simply the purest way in which to refresh a franchise that is reluctant to disappear in its 40 years of existence. Without spoiling the story, I'll just say the following, and it's a doubt the film raises through the premise. Who is the real monster? Obviously, it's the masked killer who seeks to create as much chaos as possible. However, the film shows the side of the coin that we never see. How people far from crime react to such acts of violence, insecurity, and how it affects the whole context of a neighborhood in a country like United States. Analyzing and watching the film, I realized that the monster we have known in the cinema did not arise to scare because of their designs or their crimes. Every monster, classic or current, exists because it's a parallel of the context and a reflection of society itself, turning people into strange beings to recognize the horrible of their own nature. It will be impossible to recite all the examples that haunt my head as I write these words, but I will focus on the ones I have in mind. First, with Frankenstein. It's evident that this character was created to serve as a mirror of loneliness, poor understanding, and otherness, in Guillermo del Toro's own words. Frankenstein is an unexpressive being who only needs compassion, empathy, and someone timeless who could not fit into the context in which he was created. Going back to modern times and taking advantage of a recent release by the original creator that seeks to renew the saga without forgetting its origins, we have Chucky, created by Don Mancini. He's a character who always sought to reflect the abuse of minorities, and although it was more elaborate in its beginnings to focus on the terrifying aspect, specifically in the times we live in, Don Mancini seeks to send a message about how the LGBT community has suffered rejection, mockery, and discrimination, all through a killer doll, an object that, by itself, has always denoted weakness. It's not a random thing that a doll is the object of tension of a saga that has such a speech. Finally, and returning to the saga I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Michael Myers is someone complex to understand, not because of the depth of the character, but because since 1978 they have tried to renew him, give him a different twist, or adapt him according to the director's vision. But the essence, in some cases, to a lesser extent, has been maintained: the mental health, which represents such a character for society in 1978 and how it has changed in 2022. The perceptions are different, but the character remains the same, an unstoppable force crashing into an immobile object, someone who unravels in his own psyche in a world incapable of interpreting him. The humanity that revolves around him, beyond trying to understand him, will always seek to destroy him. And with these words, I do not mean that he is a being that does not deserve judgment for his actions. Simply, those who judge him are a reflection of the evil that he reflected in the beginning. So, I'm left with a question, and I would like you to answer it. Who is the real monster? The one we observe and terrified us, or the one we have inside and seek to hide?
What's your favorite scary movie?